Coming up on this edition of VCU Insight, fans cheer on VCU in the NCAA tournament.
The Richmond community rallies with the nation in the Trayvon Martin case.
And we tell you why Richmond is now called a hipster city.
All that and more when VCU Insight starts right now.
Hello and welcome to VCU Insight. I'm Ashley Chapman.
And I'm Christine Hadid. Thank you for joining us. We begin with a recent case where police say that a student was sexually assaulted on campus. Insight's Philip Newsom joins us in the studio with more details.
Police say the student was assaulted at gunpoint in an alley near the intersection of North Harrison Street and Floyd Avenue at around 9:30 p.m. on March 27th. The victim described her attacker as an Asian or Hispanic male, around 6 foot 5 inches tall. She also said he had a deep voice and a tattoo of 3 stars on his neck. Police are asking students and local residents to be aware of their surroundings at night.
It's crazy because you would never think that you can walk on campus and something like that happens to you until it actually happens. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, just watch your back.
Richmond police are now labeling the incident as suspicious because of the holes they say are in the student's story. Anyone with any information on this case is asked to call VCU Police at 828-1234 or send an anonymous text to the subject VCU TIP to 274-637.
Thank you for that, Philip. Although the number of young adults with health insurance has increased because of the 2010 Affordable Care provisions, many still remain uninsured for various reasons. Insight's Amaris Lemus investigates.
Medical expenses can come with a hefty price tag for the uninsured, leaving many with the burden of paying costs out of pocket. For some, the cost can come unexpectedly. VCU sophomore Xavier Williamson is familiar with the feeling after a stubborn headache sent him to the hospital last October.
Yeah, I just didn't know it was that much involved in it. And especially not having health care, I thought it would be a little cheaper, but...
Upon release, the hospital billed Williamson $8,000. However, he was able to get the amount reduced. According to the Kaiser Family Foundation, 16% of Americans are uninsured. Of those 16%, almost 28 are between the ages of 18 and 24, according to the 2000 U.S. Census. Many people in Williamson's age demographic account for a significant percentage of the uninsured in America, but do not make health insurance a priority for various reasons. Cost isn't the only reason this age group lacks health insurance, according to Assistant Professor for the VCU Department of Healthcare Policy and Research, Andrew Barnes.
So it's what oftentimes we call this group of people like young invincibles, individuals who feel like nothing will ever happen to them, and there's a if they do get sick, it won't be until much later in their lives.
Prior to his hospital visit, Williamson fell among the group of young invincibles, but says he has learned his lesson and won't be taking any more chances.
Something that pops up and then you start getting the bills and seeing how much that you have to pay them, how much insurance is actually a necessity that we have to have.
Upon graduation, Williamson plans to have his own health insurance. For VCU Insight, I'm Amaris Lemus.
The Affordable Care Act is expected to be in full effect by 2014. To find out how it could affect you, contact the Kaiser Family Foundation or your local state legislator.
The death of 17-year-old Trayvon Martin back in February has attracted widespread attention over the past weeks. Universities across the country have hosted vigils and demonstrations to raise support for the arrest of the Florida teen's admitted killer, 28-year-old George Zimmerman. Just last week, VCU students joined the movement by organizing a rally on campus that yielded a remarkable turnout. Hundreds of students and members of the community gathered at VCU's Commons Plaza, wearing hoodies in tribute to the memory of the killed Florida teenager. Many clutched bags of Skittles and cans of iced tea, the only items reportedly found on Trayvon at the time his body was discovered. Students collected the empty bags and cans to present to the Richmond Police Department as symbols of a peaceful protest.
Just to start, we're planning to do a whole bunch of activities, maybe First Friday events, just getting everyone involved and realizing that we come together as a community to just be a strong body of people and to bring awareness to different events.
2006, Sean Bell.
Poets, activists, and student leaders urged rally attendees to unify as a force against discrimination and injustice in their communities. The diverse turnout exceeded the expectations of student organizers, who say they planned the event in just 2 days with the help of social networking. Our Christine Hadid has a special guest in the studio to discuss the controversial Trayvon Martin case.
Today I have a special guest in our studio. Senator Henry L. Marsh III is a civil rights lawyer and politician who became Richmond's first African-American mayor in 1977. He currently holds a seat in Virginia's state Senate. And Senator Marsh, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
And so today we're talking about incidents involving the Trayvon Martin case, which has sparked a lot of national discussion about issues like racial profiling and gun control and self-defense definitions and just justice in general. Is there a certain facet of the case that you think is most important for people to focus on?
Well, I've been dealing with those issues for the past 20 years as a member of the Senate. Those questions have come up. I've spearheaded efforts to limit access to guns, handguns in this country and in Virginia. And all of those questions are raised by this incident. Also, the question of race, how prevalent is race in our society? And it's highlighted by the fact that we now have an African-American president. It's hard to say which one is more important. If Trayvon were not African-American, this incident would be heinous because any parent losing a child that way is going to be hurt. But I think because he was African-American, it is particularly painful to those of us who have shared and know of similar experiences throughout our lives. And so this issue is going to remain with us. And in that sense, Trayvon's death might not be in vain if it focuses on how prevalent and how insidious the issue of race is in our society.
And I want to talk a little bit about the issue of gun control, because one of the hot topics right now is Florida's Stand Your Ground law, which basically allows for citizens to exert force, even deadly force, if they feel that they're threatened by another individual, and they have no duty to retreat. Virginia right now doesn't have a Stand Your Ground law, but a similar law, the Castle Doctrine, has been introduced before, and you've been opposed to it. Can you explain why?
Well, actually, the Castle Doctrine is a creature of common law. It grows out of the English law, which we inherited in our legal system. To put it simple, the Castle Document really requires a test of reasonableness. This year, some proponents of Stand Your Ground tried to amend the Castle common law by formalizing a doctrine which gives persons a license to shoot someone entering your home. In a discussion, it was brought out that that law would really limit the rights that people have now, because when you specify a particular area of incident, it automatically limits the areas that you don't name. So homeowners have more protection now with the Castle Doctrine than they would if we specified certain situations.
So sorry to cut you off, because you raised some very good points. We are out of time for today, though, but thank you so much for sharing that with us. And we've been speaking with Virginia State Senator Henry L. Marsh III about the Trayvon Martin case, and thank you so much for joining us and for your time.
Thank you.
A new literary award created to honor the memory of a former VCU graduate was presented for the first time on March 28th at VCU's Scott House. Virginia poet laureate Kelly Cherry won the Rebecca Mitchell Towremoto Short Fiction Prize. along with $2,000 for her story on familiar terms. David Towremoto funded the prize with an endowment made to VCU in memory of his late wife, who was an accomplished short fiction writer and 1967 VCU graduate. About 40 people, including VCU graduate English students, faculty, and students from St. Gertrude High School, gathered to hear Cherry read her winning story. 2012 VCU distinguished visiting writer Ron Carlson also read some of his own short fiction work. Event coordinator and VCU English Department Chairman Terry Ogle says the event highlights the growing notoriety of VCU's English program.
The prominence of the program and the national appeal that it has certainly enhances the students' experience.
Books by Cherry were available for sale after the event, and you can also find them at VCU Barnes & Noble bookstore. A local restaurant served up more than just food last month, also helped for a local organization. And this isn't the first time. Insight's Melissa Smith has more.
It looks like a regular day here at Pescado's China Street restaurant, but it's not. The restaurant hosted a fundraiser on March 12th, where a portion of the day's proceeds went to VCU's Parkinson's and Movement Disorders Center. Restaurant management says close to 100 people came out to support the cause. Regular Pescado's customer, Lilo Ukrop, found out about the fundraiser online while looking for the menu. She says she enjoyed the benefit.
We enjoyed a wonderful meal and we helped the greater good. I mean, what's not to enjoy about that?
According to restaurant management, Pescado's China Street donated over $300 to VCU's Parkinson's and Movement Disorders Center, and it isn't the first time they've helped the community. The Caribbean-style restaurant has hosted fundraisers like this one since 2010. Restaurant management says Pescado's has raised about $10,000 for different organizations, such as the Massey Cancer Center, VCU Pediatric Dentistry, and the American Red Cross Tsunami Fund. Pescado's China Street manager, Jen Brooks, says there are two reasons for having these fundraisers every month.
Monday is a less busy night, so we're able to accommodate a little better, and we just like giving back and being part of the community.
Fundraisers like this one not only help local organizations, but also the community. For VCU Insight, I'm Melissa Smith.
Pescado's China Street restaurant will host another fundraiser later this month.
And a few VCU groups are working together to loan bikes to students. The pilot program is offering 8 bikes. 4 bikes will be at designated racks outside the library, with 4 more at the Mobility Hub on Floyd. It's sponsored by VCU Libraries, the student environmental group VCU Goes Green, and VCU Ram Bikes, a student group that encourages bike riding on campus. Teresa Doherty, VCU Libraries Head of Circulation and Information Services, says the bikes are a great way to get around the city.
The idea was to give students an alternate means of transportation. A lot of students on campus don't have cars. We're an urban institution. We just don't have enough parking for everybody. We are on 2 campuses. We're surrounded by a wonderful city. You want to be able to get out to Belle Island. You want to go up to Maymont or Virginia Museum of Fine Arts. Buses don't always go there, and you don't always have to walk.
Students can check out the bikes at the library services desk like a book. Helmets and U-locks will come with the bikes for safety and security.
Abortions have always been a taboo topic of discussion, but for the past few months, it has been a hot topic for Virginia. Insight's Ashley Fisher has more on the story.
On March 7th, Governor Bob McDonnell signed into law a bill that would require women to have an ultrasound before having an abortion. The ultrasound abortion bill originally required a transvaginal ultrasound, but after many protests by angry women's rights groups, it was softened by only requiring an abdominal ultrasound. Tamika Jarvis, a VCU student that has had an abortion in the past, says that she does not agree with the bill.
I think that it's an infringement upon rights of women to make their own decisions about our bodies.
It was not uncommon in the past to see women fighting for equal rights, but in the year 2012, many women are wondering, should they still be fighting for their reproductive rights? Dr. Judith Lewis also does not agree with the bill. She believes that it's violating women's rights.
It's an unwarranted search and seizure, And it really does make women unable to make informed decisions by themselves. The fact that people believe that women need this additional information before making an informed consent, I believe is insulting to women.
From students to health professionals, it seems that a common notion about this bill is that it takes away from a woman's right to choose.
I don't think there's enough representation of us. So I feel like I don't want people who aren't like me or who won't possibly have the same experiences as me making decisions for me.
Before the bill was proposed, ultrasounds for an abortion were optional, but now that it has been passed, they will be mandatory. For VCU Insight, I am Ashley Fisher.
With the amended version of the bill, women now have the right to choose the type of ultrasound they want before an abortion, but they don't have the right to opt out of an ultrasound completely.
Big Brothers Big Sisters of Greater Richmond and Tri-Cities organized an event in late March that might be right up your alley. AMF Sunset Lanes hosted the event, called Bowl for Kids' Sake, that helped raise more than $47,000 for Big Brothers Big Sisters, the organization that prides itself on teaching children how to make good choices. Over 85 teams came out for 2 days of bowling, as teams of 5 bowled in hour-long shifts. Participants got prizes not only for getting strikes and spares, but for gutter balls too. Lanray Ajubala says the charity bowling event makes raising money fun.
It can be tempting to want to raise money in a more serious, confined environment, but when there's an air of relaxation to it, it makes it much more pleasant.
The prizes in bowling were just some of the fun. Flying squirrel mascot Nutsy even made an appearance. The highest score award went to Chris Beach with 187 points. And as we all know, texting and driving make a dangerous combination. Insight's Philip Newsom now joins us in our studio with a special guest to talk about it.
Today we're speaking with Priscilla Sherwood. She's a graduate student in special education, early childhood development at VCU. She's representing Drive Smart Virginia and AT&T in their fight against texting and driving. Priscilla, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, so first tell us all a little bit about this event. I know you went to speak to a bunch of high schoolers at James River High School not too long ago about texting and driving. Tell us about that event and what point you guys were trying to get across with that.
The whole event was organized by the Drive Smart Virginia organization, and it was also sponsored by AT&T, and both of those companies have been working together to try to reach across Virginia, target different schools for where there's a significant increase of teenage accidents. So they actually have been trying to target the Chesterfield area because that area actually has one of the highest teenage car crashes right on the East Coast. I believe it was last year they had 17 accidents in a year. So they wanted to get to James River, and they set up a program where they had different speakers come, and they showed a video of stories from friends and families that had their own stories of somebody that had been involved in a texting crash. So they just wanted to get their message across to the students there at James River.
Great. So how do you say it turned out? Did you think the students got the message?
I definitely think they got the message. I know that when I was watching them watch the videos that were being shown, it was a very powerful video, and they definitely had their full attention to the video, and the audience was very, very silent. They didn't seem to be very distracted at all. And then later on, I was told that during my speech, they were also really engaged in listening to everything I had to say. So hopefully that they did take the message seriously, and they all signed a pledge not to text and drive in the future. So hopefully they will keep all of that in mind the next time they might pick up the phone while they're driving.
Okay, and so I know one of the main reasons you were involved is because you had your own personal experience with texting and driving. Could you tell us a little bit about what happened to you and how that, led you to want to, speak about this?
Well, actually, I was a senior in high school when it happened, so I could easily relate to the students at James River High School. I had just gone out that night on an anniversary date with my boyfriend, and my parents had enforced a strict midnight curfew that I always was trying to push my limits, and that night was no exception. And I was already running late, and my dad had already been calling me several times. And I go down a 2-lane back road that's very poorly lit, and the speed limit drops from 35 miles to 25 miles per hour. And I actually was maintaining my speed of already about 48 miles per hour, just because I thought that I was already running late. So by speeding, I could cut back on the time that I had already missed. And right when it dropped to about 25 miles is when, I'm still not sure to this day what animal it was, but an animal came across the street, and I swerved to miss it, and then I swerved to miss a speed sign, and then ended up kind of flinging across the road and landing in a tree. And later on, the police and the EMT and everyone involved in the accident had told my family that there was at least 3 different points that had happened along the crash that I shouldn't have survived the accident. And there's definitely a lot of factors that contributed to it, but one of them definitely was that I was texting my dad while I was driving home that I was on my way. So that was definitely one of the major factors that contributed to it.
Thank you. Well, we've been speaking with Priscilla Sherwood, a VCU graduate student representing Drive Smart Virginia and AT&T in their fight against texting and driving. Thank you for joining us, Priscilla.
Thank you.
VCU's run in this year's NCAA tournament may have been cut short, but as Insight's Jaleesa House found out, Ram fans are proud of the team, win or lose.
Let's go, VCU! As the VCU basketball team fought to stay in the NCAA tournament, fans here in Richmond packed bars and restaurants to cheer the team on. Rams fans were hoping the luck of the Irish was on their side as the team played in a St. Patrick's Day game against the Indiana Hoosiers for a spot in this year's Sweet 16. As the game began, VCU senior Don Gabalt was confident that the Rams could pull another win to advance to the next round.
I feel like tonight I'm going to have to order a Sweet 16 t-shirt. That's how I'm feeling.
This Chili's on VCU's campus was at capacity as fans flocked to see the black and gold play. And with every shot made, it was clear to see the stakes were high for some of those watching, and for others, it was just plain hard to watch.
I definitely like have the hands clasping and stuff like that. Like I can feel the nervousness in my body, so it becomes physical.
The Rams captured national attention last year as the Cinderella story of the tournament, but with their run to the Final Four, many wondered if Shaka Smart could lead a much younger team to the big dance.
Following their historic run to the Final Four, the VCU Rams went on to win a school record of 29 wins and was one of only 5 teams in the NCAA to sell out every home game here at the Stuart C. Siegel Center.
But with less than 12 seconds on the clock and down by 2, the Rams' last attempt at a 3-pointer came up short, and in a heartbreaking loss, the Rams fell to Indiana, 63-61. But through the disappointment of the season's ending, Global is still proud of how far the Rams have come.
Last year they were saying VCU who. This year they were telling other teams you can beat VCU.
Fans say the pride they have in the Rams basketball team is unwavering, and they look forward to a chance at redemption next year. For VCU Insight, I'm Jaleesa House.
The VCU men's basketball team were greeted by more than 200 fans upon their arrival from Portland, Oregon.
A recent survey shows that the number of students that own tablet computers is on the rise. But when it comes to VCU students, VCU Tech Services says otherwise. Insight's Brenda Acevedo reports.
A tablet personal computer is a mobile computer that is larger than a mobile phone, integrated into a flat touchscreen. Tablets such as the Kindle and iPad are touchscreen rather than the traditional keyboard and monitor of a desktop or laptop computer. It is a device that is slowly becoming a part of daily life among students. VCU junior Alex Stevens recommends tablets to VCU students struggling every day with school textbooks and getting organized.
I was tired of carrying a lot of textbooks
So I bought this, and I actually have 3 textbooks on here, so it makes it a lot easier. And it's cheaper, too, to buy them online.
The Pearson Foundation found that 1/4 of those students owned tablets compared to just 7% last year. The study shows that the use of tablets such as this one to triple every year, but VCU conducted its own survey on students to see just how popular tablets are becoming. VCU Director of User Services Jim Bostic says that tablets are not quite the craze among students, but they have potential.
The ownership seems to be creeping up, but it's very slow at this point.
On the other hand, smartphones are still the most common thing to use aside from tablets. They both use social networks, applications, and are easy to carry around. For VCU Insight, I'm Brenda Acevedo.
VCU Tech Services says they'll post the survey on their website soon.
And finally tonight, the city of Richmond is known for many things. Now the city can add Hipster City to that list. Insight's Brian Hill has more.
The city of Richmond has a new title under its belt, Hipster City. The title comes after the city won a poll on Culture Map Austin's website that included cities like Detroit and Pittsburgh. Marsh, the owner of Rumors Boutique, located on North Harrison Street, is not surprised by the city being called hipster because of all it has to offer.
It's a place you can move to that's got a really awesome art scene, a really good college, a really good community, lots of small businesses.
Poll creator Lauren Mottery says the term hipster city refers to cities that encourage creativity and thought, as well as being progressive and left-leaning. She also says she wanted to include Richmond on the list because most of the indie bands she met in Austin were from Richmond. Creator of popular Richmond style blog Dirty Richmond, Brian McDaniel speaks of the music scene in Richmond.
The thing where like everybody has bands or everybody's a DJ, like I DJ sometimes, like everybody's a DJ, everybody's in a band, but music kind of drives that.
But other than the music scene, what makes a city hip? Mottery says hipster cities feature places such as farm-to-table eateries and the clothing store American Apparel. Yet, given the term hipster has become so common lately, some people think the negative connotation behind it hinders the city more than it helps.
You have to think about how you kind of define hipster. A lot of people they hear the word and they think it's something like negative, you know, when really it just means that people here have an eclectic style.
Even though hipster culture may seem as though it focuses mainly on fashion, hipster culture in Richmond would not be what it is without the blending of cultures through music.
Things go hand in hand, like culture goes in hand with, or music and culture go hand in hand with anything.
Weish and McDaniel both say the term focuses mainly on the idea of community and giving back. For VCU Insight, I'm Brian Hill.
Richmond won by a landslide with 72% of the votes, while other cities like Chattanooga, Tennessee had 15% and Pittsburgh just 2%. I feel more hip already.
I've always thought Richmond was a pretty hip city.
That's it for this edition of VCU Insight.
Make sure to check us out online at insight.vcu.edu.
Thanks for watching. I'm Ashley Chapman.
And I'm Christine Hadid. We'll see you next time.